Understanding business regulations. Today, the U.S. government contains over 70 federal regulatory departments, agencies, and commissions that employ over 300,000 full-time employees. The Code of Federal Regulations, which lists all the regulations passed by these agencies, hovers over around 165,000 pages long. Regardless of what role we play in the marketplace, we cannot avoid being affected by regulations. The FCC regulates the radio we listen to and the television stations we watch. It is currently making a move to regulate the internet. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission regulates the electricity we use. The Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, presides over the food we eat, dictating what items must appear on food labels and what types of drugs we are allowed to have access to. The Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, regulates the land around us and imposes standards on the appliances we use, from how much water our toilets flush to how much force our showers spray out. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA, regulates not just the price of milk, but also, as authors Dudley and Brito explain in their book Regulation, a Primer, how large the size of holes our Swiss cheese can have. The NHTSA sets standards for car safety, requiring all cars to be equipped with seat belts and airbags. They have recently discussed mandating backup cameras in all future cars that are built. Imagine the cost that would add to the price of a car. The Department of Health and Human Services issues licenses on who can sell food and under what conditions, periodically making surprise sanitation inspections of restaurants. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, regulates banks and financial institutions in a variety of ways, while the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Fire Bureau regulates alcohol sales permits, setting restrictions on the sale of alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Some of these regulations seem reasonable, while others seem arbitrary and even silly. How are we to understand the difference? Perhaps we should start by distinguishing between legitimate laws and arbitrary regulations. We mentioned in the last lesson that legitimate laws protecting an individual's rights to liberty and property are essential to the proper functioning of a market economy. Without legitimate laws, there is no way to distinguish between a friendly trading partner and a conniving criminal, nor is there any authority to punish the criminal. Regulations are different than legitimate laws in that they go beyond them. They go beyond protecting an individual's rights and securing his property. Regulations are an additional layer of authoritative commands that come in the form of guidelines, mandates, or prohibitions from the government on economic activity. They are backed by fines, penalties, and even jail time for their violation. The goal of government regulation is to get individuals to act differently than they otherwise would if left free in the marketplace. We can define business regulations formally then as a set of administrative laws or rules issued by government to direct individuals or businesses in how to act, often requiring that they abide by certain standards or procedures in the course of their operations. The key in understanding the role of regulations in the economy is to recognize that regulations do not protect or encourage voluntary interaction. Instead, they interfere with and disrupt voluntary interactions. They prevent individuals who otherwise would come together in a mutually beneficial way from exchanging and trading goods. Why then does the government regulate business? The justification usually given for regulations is to make commerce regular. That is, to make activity in the market economy in some way more fair, straightforward, safe, secure, affordable, or non-discriminatory. Regulations aim sometimes to correct perceived market failures or injustices. At other times, they're imposed by anxious bureaucrats as quick solutions to problems, to protect an industry from overseas competition, to protect the poor from rising prices, or to ensure access to quality goods and services in a particular industry. Regulations try to protect businesses from one another, employees from employers, consumers from sellers, investors and stockholders from CEOs, but often in a way that interferes with our liberty and basic rights, and it attempts, to quote Ronald Reagan again, to protect us from ourselves.